I'm Theron, Ramacharaka. Now, as usual, I did not rehearse, or I did not write a script for this video. This one I barely even mentally rehearsed, but I am going to draw from something here that I did put in writing, nonetheless. I hope that made sense. Alright, well, first of all, please understand, I need to make it known here to viewers that if you communicate with me via email or however, I might use the results of some of our interactions to create videos, because things will come up in communication that will give me ideas, and maybe I'll use the content of such communication in a video. I don't mean I'm going to reveal people's names or I'm going to read verbatim what they might write to me. No, but if you communicate with me and you find that something we talked about in our communications via, let's say, email, shows up in a video, please don't be surprised. I mean, every video that I post, one way or another, comes from somewhere. So your communication with me could be one of those sources. Alright, this video comes from such a source, or roots in such a source, such an interaction. Somebody communicated with me and asked my opinion about some matters that this person discovered elsewhere, that is, outside of my channel, and found that there were some areas of concord as well as some areas of discord, or agreement with things I have posted and some areas of disagreement, and wanted my opinion. One such thing was that biologically, well, that we have not been created by, let's say, extraterrestrials, but in fact we're created by archangels. Now, see, I don't know, because it wasn't explained, whether this implies we weren't created maliciously, but were created benevolently. I don't know, and nothing I ever said about perhaps having been genetically engineered by extraterrestrials meant anything malicious. But I have put it in the context of DNA engineered for the purposes of enslavement, so I guess that's malicious. Alright, but I'm not sure whether pointing this discrepancy out here, you know, rather created by archangels, means, well, there's no, then that would negate the whole idea of human enslavement on this planet. I don't know, because that wasn't said, but typically, I mean, it might have been just a, you know, a splitting hairs thing, you know, like, could this be the case rather than that, just with no further implications. It could have been that, I don't know. It could have also been because many people typically think of archangels as being far above any kind of corruption. It could have been that too. Another thing that was said was that when it comes to extraterrestrials, that really, you know, greys, the variety of extraterrestrial called greys, are actually robots. So if that's the case, then they're not really extraterrestrials. They're, you know, greys are robots controlled by whatever, demons, whatever, I don't know. I think that was the implication in this contact that I had from another viewer. And there were some other things. There were some other things brought up. And they're kind of like, you know, details here or there. So what I want to share with you is my response. Because that's the important part here. So I've set the stage for it. Now, here's what I respond. Oh, and by the way, the idea of channeling was brought up. Apparently, this other source of information receives information by way of channeling. This other source of information is a channeling medium. And apparently, the source of that information coming to this channel source is the White Brotherhood. Probably aka the Great White Brotherhood. Alright. Anyway. So I address some of these things. And that's what this video is about. So I'm going to share that now with you. Okay. The details about where we came from, especially genetically, and about exactly what is going on this planet, and which aliens are which, and so on, are not as important as is understanding that consciousness hijacking takes place at every possible level, and is not as important as is every viable pursuit to circumvent that. Every viable pursuit that we can take to circumvent that, and to move toward true selfhood and expansion of that consciousness throughout the universal structure. And furthermore, it is important to understand that just as it is true that not all Irish people are drunks and the like, not all aliens are bad guys, and not all Greys are robots, and the like. Some are and some aren't. There's more than one species of Grey, and it has been found that, yes, some are actually robots controlled by some other entity, created and controlled by some other entity, probably not good guys from our point of view. But not all Greys are. There are various subspecies or species of Greys. They're not all robots. And not all aliens are bad guys. Not all humans are bad guys. Some are, some aren't. Okay? And the idea of coming here to this planet as a result of trickery, this has to do now with whether this is a prison planet. And, in this correspondence that I received, here's one more bit of information that's relevant right here. It was proposed that we were actually created by archangels, and this is not a prison planet. We actually came here of our own free will. Okay. This is not a prison planet. We actually came here of our own free will. All right. The idea of coming here as the result of trickery, this is my reply, does not imply that we were all somehow tricked. It implies it implies that some of us were. And even in those cases, it does not imply an infraction upon free will. It implies some trickery in convincing us to make a free choice to come here based on some false premises. That's what it implies. So free will does not negate the prison planet idea. Now, with respect to channeled information in large, I don't trust it. There's way too much room for deception. For various reasons. And I won't go into them here because I didn't go into them in response. I'm just sharing with you my response. It's a general response. Now, archangels. There is a bag of worms. It's not just so-called demons and bad aliens that make up the, so to speak, dark force. Many powers, principalities, or whatever you want to call them, and archangels and others, including so-called ascended masters, are involved. That's my view on it. Now, in my opinion, which is which, and which ones are the same things but called by different names, and etc., is not as important as claiming our own sovereignty from them all. And the White Brotherhood, in my opinion, currently stands on iffy ground. Apparently, right now, there are various such brotherhoods and federations clamoring for our attention and sending messages via mediums and so on. Some of them have been verified to be dark force agents. I do not know how the Great White Brotherhood relevantly ranks, but as I recall, it has been implicated. I give no credit or allegiance to any such alliances, one way or the other. Then there was something suggested in this communication about the moon and consciousness technology and what's really going on there. Perhaps this was presented to me in the communication, in the inquiry, because it runs in a little contradistinction to, or inconsistently with some things that I have posted or reposted. Mostly, I think it would be information that I have reposted onto my channel. Well, as for the moon and consciousness technology, I wouldn't be at all surprised if many more than one thing is going on there and has been for a long time. So, I don't know. I know there's more than one thing going on this planet. Right here, Earth. There's more than one agenda taking place with technology, different people, different factions of humanity and other races, behind it. It's not just one thing. Now, apparently, beings have been involved with this planet for millions of years. Some very technologically advanced, some very great manipulators of consciousness, and what have you. Well, why not the moon too? Whatever it is, that moon, and however long it's been there, where it is right now, whatever it is and however long it's been there. I feel that there's just one thing going on there and not some other things. That would blow my mind more than finding out that there are thousands of agendas going on there right now. Just like if we're trying to analyze some specific person's motives for doing something. Well, one person might say, well, I know why he said that to you. He's just trying to get your money. Or he's just trying to get you riled up. He's just trying to piss you off. Don't let him. And then somebody else might walk up and say, oh, he's actually a really nice guy. You just misunderstood him. He didn't mean that. He meant something else. And another person might say, oh, he was just drunk. Well, you know what? All of those things could be true at the same time. How often have you been asked why you did something and you give an answer because you feel like you need to answer that question right now? So you blurt something out, the first thing that came to your mind, something true, and then by the next day you have run it over in your mind and you think of some other reason why you did that thing you were asked about. And if you think about it long enough, you might find some third reason why you did it. All true. Some people seem to expect that there's just one motive going on behind things like that, but there usually are more than one. Similarly, with trying to figure out the reason why such and such is happening, or the reason, the agenda going on, with some phenomena. Now, the more galactically we apply this idea to, well, the larger becomes the bag of potential things going on. Chemtrails, for example. Chemtrails. What is the purpose of chemtrails? What are they up to with the chemtrails? You know, the chemicals, whatever you want to call them, being dumped into our atmosphere from airplanes, flying at rather high altitudes. What is the reason? Now, some people will argue that it's for shielding the surface of the planet, down here where we walk around and drive around, from the increased solar flare activity, solar activity. Other people might say, oh, it's to kill us. Another person might say, well, it's to make us sick because, you know, these chemtrails involve viruses, deadly viruses that slow kill us. Whereas the former people were saying, it's to just downright kill us, you know, slow or fast. And another person might say, well, actually, it's to trap in radiation from the sun to fry us. And another person might say, well, it's to get in our water table, get in our food, get in our lungs, get in our heads, get in our nervous systems. It's designed to clog up our brainwave activity and keep us stupid. Keep us in low levels of vibration. And another person might say, actually, what it is nanofiber technology that, well, hey, it's like smart dust. You know, like you have smart TVs, you have smartphones, you have smart refrigerators or whatever, smart bombs with smart dust. It can be used as a medium of transfer for the transmission of frequencies on which are modulated information. And these frequencies correspond precisely to our brainwave activity. And insofar as we're breathing these nano smart dust particles, they're going right into our skin, in fact. They're parts of our anatomy now. Well, this is an excellent method of mind control. And it provides a medium in which, let's say, holographic projections can be cast upon the screen of our atmosphere much more easily than otherwise. And on and on. And you know what? Wouldn't surprise me at all to find out that every one of these explanations are true. Not just one or the other, with us arguing over which it really is. That's just boneheadedness. To think it has to be just one thing. So as for the moon and consciousness technology, I wouldn't be surprised at all if many more than one thing is going on there and has been for a long time. That's much more likely the case than it's this or it's that. Again, I don't think that being straight on all the details over these things is as important as is having a well-rounded general picture about them. And more important than even that, taking relevant action. And I also doubt whether the exact and whole truth over these kinds of details will be had by anybody for a long time. I certainly do not claim to have all the truth. I never have claimed it. I probably never will. As I said when I first started this channel, first got into this line of information here in this channel, I said that, and I said what I present to you is the best that I currently have, the best that I currently know, from many sources, including my own personal experience, that I currently have available to provide you. That's all. And again, what is relevant action? What did I say here earlier on? Every viable pursuit to circumvent consciousness hijacking and to move toward true selfhood and expansion of that consciousness throughout the universal structure. Additionally, I said this. I have directed you here on my channel to material on the absolute. When it comes to what beings should we trust, I direct you to material on the absolute. If we realize our true selfhood and its firm grounding in the absolute, let me state that again. If we realize our true selfhood, I mean through actual experience, and its relationship with the absolute, its firm grounding in the absolute, we pass right by all the intermediate stuff, which when once successfully passed by, just turns out to have been potential distractions along the way. We can trust our true self. What beings should we trust? Well, we can trust our true self, its relationship with the absolute, universal will, the creative life principle, and our relationship with the manifesting cosmos, and not have to worry over trusting the who's who and the precise doings of supernatural beings at all. Getting into too much literary controversy over these sorts of details, in my opinion, is a distraction for sluggard, left-brain dominated minds. Be well. I'm Theron Ramacharaka. Be well.